Hey, I finally came up with an idea, for crying out loud. Okay, so you take your router here, and you've got your bit. I'm planning to notch out 3/4 of an inch, but not 3/4 of an inch is the issue. I want to notch out the width of a board. So I place my router bit, see I've got the bit through a little bit, and I'm just gonna bump up against the wood, watch. Thunk. Okay, now I'm bumping the wood, and now I've already kind of set this up. I have this board here, sorry, the straight edge here, at a space away from the router edge. And you'll notice, let's see if I can orient this correctly, that that space is exactly equal to the thickness of a board. Exactly, like snug tight, exactly equal to the thickness of a board. And that is the way to jig this sucker up. Because now, well, I'll show you when I get to the middle. I'm going to use the same skill when I get to the middle. Then if I remove this board and start routing and go over to the middle, then I will have gone exactly a board's cut inside. So I'll be able to do that much more effectively when I get to the other sections. I'll cut one side of the board and then lay this out spaced exactly one board width from the, oh gosh, let me just show you later. Dang it. One thing that's important in a big job like this, I'm taking off 3/4 inch and just like grinding it out, like using this like a roto zip. I'm going to go multiple passes. See, that first pass is like a 1/4 inch, and then I'm going to go to a 1/2 inch, and then I'll cut it entirely off at the end pass. This is something that feels very weird to me because I'm used to saws, but with routers, you know that that board, that straight edge is not moving, and you know that the router is going to be in the exact same place every time. So you get a nice cut even though you go in multiple passes. Kind of weird, but I almost started a fire with the other going all the way through one board, and it was just going too slow and burning stuff up. So that's where the fire almost was. See that speck right there? Don't worry, I stomped on it. My garage is not going to burn down tonight. Okay, here's my big idea. I'm sure it's not that revolutionary, but I've clamped down a straight edge right here, and I'm a little bit off on the cutting distance off, so I'm going to be slamming along this straight edge in order to remove this line here that's been just notched. And then I want to be over to this side just enough to cut a slice the width of the board. So my plan is I take the router and I loosen that sucker up so I can adjust the depth, and I'm going to make the depth go down to, which way it is down? I'm going to make the depth go down to nothing. Not that way. Alright, depth down to nothing. Lock it. Not much good there, except for jigging up a measurement. So I set this guy down here. Whoa, 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 don't watch that. Alright, so then I set it down here, and I'm going to go over to this end. And on this end, I'm going to place a board. And that board is the same board that I'm cutting with, and I know that this will go there. See what I'm doing here? I have guaranteed that now if I remove that board, and I've clamped this guy down already, then as I slide along there, on both sides of this thing, I'll be removing something that's exactly the width of the board. Depending on, you know, I don't even need to measure anything, I don't need to go to 30 seconds and all that nonsense, which would be my otherwise necessary path, which I don't want to do. And I don't even have to measure the 7-inch base, I just mark things out, and this is the slick way of woodworking that I really want to get to. So I'm not even gonna mark this, I'm just gonna kind of loosely clamp it right here, and then I'll go over to this side and test the fit, and I'll go back and forth a couple times until I've got it just right. Hopefully that'll enable me to take out this little groove. I'm going to go at 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, and then 3/4 inches, and I'll get this little groove out, and then I come in to square up the corners with a jigsaw, and I'll move to the next one. Hopefully I can get this all done in an hour. Whew. Hey, it doesn't work! So, I'm coming along here, and I'm recognizing as I'm doing this that this is going to get a little bit too wide as I go over there. And that's because I don't want this edge to move over a whole board's width. Dang it! Now I still don't know how to make, a nice jig. But I'm going to end up just measuring the spacing between these two guys. And what do I need to take off from it right now? the width of the bit. So that's going to be 3/8 of an inch off of this, and I'm just going to repeat that spacing over the next one. I'll just get nice straight lines and widen them up a little bit if I need to, if the board doesn't quite fit. So I can just do test fits and wiggle and darn it. Okay, the first test fit was very unpleasant, but I recognized that I was having a little bit of residue, so I actually ran through it one more time without moving the edges. Ran through it one more time on this side and then on this side, and it did take off a little bit of the lumpiness. So it really did, I mean, the bit is nice and straight. It really did do a fine job. So now, if you check this out, what I can do is I can put this in anywhere, and it's snug enough that it goes in and stays where I put it. So this is really good news for the future construction of this thing. This is going to be very tight, very sturdy. Yay! So I just have to clean up that end right there and then move to the next slot. All right, I did finish the routing nice and quickly, and it's time for a little bit of self-assessment though. I flipped the board over. This is the top of the bench, and there's a lot of fuzz here. Dang it, focus. So there's just, ugh, right? And I thought that a router would be a little bit cleaner. On these first two, I just went a 1/4 inch on the last bite, and I didn't ease into it or anything. I'm wondering whether a new router bit would solve the problem, but on this one, this is the third one that I cut, I left about a 32nd of an inch on the final pass, and that was all I cut, that last 32nd of an inch. So it's a little bit nicer. I'm gonna have to clean all of this up with a utility knife. And this last one, I did the same thing, the 32nd of an inch, but it seems like it's fuzzy again also. I guess that 32nd of an inch is about the amount of the actual veneer on here, and the veneer is just really stringy. I don't know if it's a characteristic of birch or what, but it's been a little bit annoying, so I'll just have to clean that up. I don't think that'll be too bad though. I'll probably finish that in a couple minutes, help a friend with some windows, and get back to work. Well, I'm sorry to say that I didn't film a key step here. I know that I need to route out dados for all of the support, sorry, not the support, but the actual edges of the shelves that come in here, 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 and then in the next board. So what I decided to do, first of all, I got the factory edge over on this side, and I slammed this factory edge next to the other factory edge for the back panel, which is wider than 4 feet, but I knew I wanted the grain to go vertically. Also, it's a lot taller than 4 feet. So anyway, I had to do something, had to patch it, but I decided to put a patch at a seam, so you won't be able to see a patch, and the grains match pretty well. So I smashed these two things together, and it went to an outside space, and clamped them right here with a board underneath and a board on top, clamped it, hammered it in from the side, bam, 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 to get this nice and slick right here all the way along that line. Then my wife and I were holding this comb-shaped piece. That was the back piece that shows where all the verticals are going to go. And at every break where a board's going to go, I put a little mark with a utility knife, that side and that side. And those marks can be found, I did them at 18 inches up here, that's where the bench is going to be located. And I did them at 12 inches down from the bottom, or rather, I guess it's 60 inches up from the top. And that's where the top of the upper shelf is going to be. So the bottom of the bench starts at 18 inches and the top of the shelf starts at 60 inches. I got all those tick marks out there, and my next process is to bolt down this 6-foot level right here. Sorry, what is it? Oh yeah, I guess it's about a 6-foot level. See, my whole apparatus is just under 6 feet high. Just at 6 feet high? Yeah, I guess it's just about 6 feet high. My plan now is to get this bolted into the, not bolted, but clamped into the right location, and then I will slide a router set to, I don't know, a little bit less than a 1/4 inch or something, just to get those vertical boards set so they don't ever wiggle. And I'll be able to get those dados cut, and then I'm going to biscuit cut the panel, but actually in the house, and then glue the two panels together and screw the whole dang thing together. And then the only remaining piece will be to make some nice trim onto it. So we're at a really critical juncture here, and it's important that these dados are just right, so I've been putting it off a little bit. Anyway, it's time to get to work. For the sake of not changing anything while I'm working, I used a 3/8 inch bit to make the first cut. You'll see the right side of the cut is nice and straight. And then I was thinking I would come back along the cut here and just be some distance off of here, and then go back and forth a few times to clean it all out. And it's really not efficacious to go back and forth like this. Ugh. So then my new idea is I need to be about 3/8 of an inch over. So I'm going to ride along with this in between the router and the, what would you call it? Well, I mean, it's a level, but the slide or whatever, the spacer bar is going to choke me over 3/4 of an inch, so I should be able to take this off in one additional pass. If not, I'll have some targeted areas where I can clean that off really easily. Anyway, we'll see how that works. See ya.